Okay, it's December 27th, 5:06 a.m. I just posted that I was going to make a video, so now I'm making it while these things are fresh in my mind. Certain things I'm trying to fill in terms of the past. I had said, I was talking yesterday about the money I had in my bank accounts in the hospital, wanted and everything, which brings me to the whole situation with inheritance, which I didn't go over. My mother, I think I posted this, I wrote a thing about it, died of lung cancer. She had been in the hospital. She was diagnosed with lung cancer in August 2003. I came home from my job. I had a job at the Popcorn Zoo, and in fact, they let me go. They replaced me. That's another story. I won't get into that. But the day I came home, my last day there, my mother said, "Yeah, the doctor called, and I have lung cancer." She had gone for pleurodesis, whatever, pleurocentesis, whatever, to diagnose it, and the doctor called, told her, my last day I work at Popcorn Zoo, my mother said she got a call from the doctor. She has lung cancer. That's the end of August 2003. My mother went for chemotherapy and radiation treatments for about a month. One point in September 2003, she was like short of breath, couldn't really get her breath. So I called the ambulance. The Bayville ambulance came and took her to the hospital, Community Medical Center. She was in the process of making a will. She did not have a will. My Aunt Joan had called her up and said, "Why don't you make a will?" Apparently, and I didn't find this out till after my mother died, my Aunt Judy, who was a notary public, was going to notarize it or whatever. It was going to help her with it or something. And she had started to write it, but it was not validated. It was never notarized. She died before it was notarized. And this is a sequence of events which I think I also wrote about. My mother was supposed to come home, I believe it was a Friday. She had been in the hospital for about a week. The day she was supposed to come home, I called her hospital room. There was no answer, and no answer. So I jumped in the car, ran up there, and I came into her room. She was a little bit incoherent. And I asked her, "Why didn't you answer the phone?" She didn't really answer me. She's just sort of like in a fog or in a daze. I went out to the desk. I said, "What's going on with my mother? She can't even talk." So then I went over this, but just to quickly say, she called the house doctor. The house doctor put my mother on a ventilator. My mother died that day. I didn't find out until, so that was, I believe, September 19th, 2003. I didn't find out until several days or maybe a week later. My Aunt Judy called me up and said, "Did you know that your mother was in the process of making a will? I have a copy of it." So she sent it to me. However, it was not valid because it was never notarized. It was never completed. So I talked to my brother, which means that my brother, who is another heir, is legally entitled to half of the estate. He did not want it. He did not want to be involved in being the administrator, or he didn't, and he relinquished any claim to anything of my mother, to the house, to any of the money, anything. So, and he signed, a paper to that form. I hired a lawyer to do all the paperwork with regard to the estate. Sharon Pratico. I hired a lawyer. She did all the paperwork, transferred the deed, everything was done legally. So, at one point, I offered to give my brother some money. I gave him some money. I gave him $27,000 from my mother's account. One account she had in Sun National Bank. And I put some in an annuity. Some company in Michigan, in an annuity. Okay. So, and then I told you what happened with the hospital, and they took 20,000. I had 36. Plus, I had what was in the annuity, and I had given my brother some money. He didn't ask for it. I gave it to him. So, okay. My brother, since college, was involved in the Catholic Church. He had lived in Rutherford, where they had just like I believe it was called the Pentecostal movement. Anyway, in the Catholic Church, but they had a group of people, people his age. He had a group of friends, and they all lived in Rutherford, and they were all Catholic. And so what they did was, at some point, maybe I'm a little fuzzy on the details of this, but they had like sort of an informal community. I'm not talking about a commune, but they just all lived in Rutherford. They had mass together. They had like community meetings, fellowship meetings, etc. They organized into a formal branch of the Catholic Church. In other words, they're a officially established Catholic Church. I don't know the name of it, but it's in Rutherford. Okay, so they're they have like a meeting place. I forget the name of the house there. It's called I don't know. They have a house. They have property there, like a house where they have their meetings and everything. But it's not any fringe thing. It's part of the Catholic Church. Okay, so that's another thing. When doing medical transcription, you can either be an employee, and I worked remotely, like out of my home. So then that eliminated. Once I got fired from Clayton, I just did transcription. I didn't need a car to get anywhere, so I just worked in my computer at my desk. You can either be an employee or you can be an independent contractor, which means you pay your own taxes, you don't get any paid time off, and you don't get any vacation time. You can get time off, you have to ask for it, but you don't get paid for it. You don't have any insurance either. So 2009, I worked for Iridium Services in Miami, Florida for just about the whole year. From January to, I believe it was maybe October, November, something like that, as an independent contractor. And being as I didn't make much money, didn't have much of a profit margin, I got behind in paying my taxes. You're supposed to pay quarterly estimated income taxes. I didn't pay it. When I went to an accountant to have my taxes done the following year, so we're talking about 2010, and I asked, well, can I like pay them in installments? I know if you pay late, there's like a penalty. It's not too high of an interest, but there is a penalty anyway. So I asked my accountant, David Pfeiffer, and he said, because I filed my taxes through him, and he said the IRS will contact you. Well, they contacted me and I set up some sort of tentative payment arrangement. I think I owed around maybe $1,000 or so in federal income taxes. So I managed to pay it. At that time, I was working at a different company, Landmark Transcription in St. David's, Pennsylvania. I was working as an employee, but in any case, I paid the tax payment schedule. I believe it went through most of the year 2010. However, I paid off my back income taxes in June 2010. So I paid them off. And also, in April 2010 was what is it called? The Horizon, the BP oil rig explosion off the Gulf of Mexico. It was called the Deepwater Horizon oil spill, 2010. It was April 20th, 2010. Well, it just made me think of the BP on the corner here, which you've seen in my videos. There's a BP on the corner and a gas station. And also the fact that I saw something in a video that reminded me of the fact that in this BP gas station on the corner here, which has a convenience store, there's an ATM in the back. And I used it once. And I think in the Little John's also there's a ATM in the back. And I always wondered about the security of those ATMs. Like, people can like alter them in some way, hidden from view. They're easy to like sort of sabotage or fix to skim numbers, something like that. So and I think I told you what my mother's. I don't have a copy of my mother's will anymore. I can't even scan it in because during the hurricane, everything, a lot of stuff just got soaking wet. It was a piece of paper, not a piece of paper. It was, several pages that were just They were just sopping wet, and I threw them out. So I don't even have that anymore. But my Aunt Judy had originally sent it to me, and actually I sent a copy to my brother. But I told you, I think I wrote this. It said something to the effect of, I leave everything to my beloved daughter, Susan. I love my son, but he can take care of himself. That's what she said. And that's what I remember it said. That's about all I remember, and I don't have a copy of it anymore. Okay, so if I think of anything else, I'll mention it as I go along, and I'll probably make a cats video today, and this is 11 minutes and 30 seconds.